Good morning, distinguished officials and colleagues. Welcome to this strategic briefing on illegal weapons trafficking across our borders. Today, we will analyze the critical security threats posed by over 30 identified smuggling routes and review the current law enforcement countermeasures protecting our national sovereignty. Moving past the strategic overview, we must address why this threat demands immediate attention. The data from 2023 is alarming. Over 30 active smuggling routes are funneling weapons into the country. Between the BHB and RAB, nearly 700 firearms were seized last year alone. Operation Devil Hunt recently netted nearly 16,000 arrests in just 3 weeks. As Major General Muneeruzzaman warns, the unrecovered looted weapons create a volatile mix, especially with the heightened pre-election security risks flagged by headquarters. Following the executive summary, we visualize the operational landscape. Intelligence has identified 30 distinct smuggling routes, clustered primarily in the northeast near Sylhet and the northwest near Dinajpur. These red markers indicate high-traffic entry points where geographic vulnerabilities, such as riverine borders and unfenced gaps, are exploited by transnational syndicates. Note the strategic concentration along both the Indian and Myanmar frontiers. Having visualized the 30 routes on the map, let's break down the dynamics of our two primary source corridors. On the left, the India sector remains our primary volume supplier, specifically small arms from illegal workshops in Bihar entering through major land ports like Benapole. In contrast, the Myanmar sector on the right is less about volume and more about high-risk complexity, linking weapons trade directly to drug cartels and insurgent instability in the hill tracts. Having examined the geographical routes, we now turn to the operational mechanics of the smuggling network. This process follows a structured 5-stage life cycle. Crucially, I want to draw your attention to Step 3, the border handoff. While sourcing occurs outside our jurisdiction and distribution happens deep inland, the physical transfer at the zero line is where the network is most exposed. This handshake often relies on local linemen and temporary lapses in surveillance, making it our primary target for tactical interception. Transitioning from supply routes to demand. Who is buying these weapons? This radar chart visualizes the end-user profile based on recent intelligence. Note the significant spike towards political enforcers, scoring highest due to election year volatility, while extremist groups and extortion syndicates remain steady consumers for territorial control. The immediate surge is driven by political intimidation needs. Moving from the actors to the numbers, this slide quantifies the threat. On the left, BHB data confirms a consistent year-on-year rise in seizures, hitting 108 firearms in 2023. On the right, notice the sheer scale of Operation Devil Hunt. Nearly 16,000 arrests in just 4 weeks yielded 236 weapons. This discrepancy between mass arrests and relatively low weapon recovery highlights the hidden nature of these networks. Moving from the statistics to the strategic implications, this matrix maps our seizure data directly to electoral risks. The red quadrant is our immediate concern. With over 100 firearms unaccounted for in recent border flows, the capacity for high-impact polling station attacks and violent inter-party clashes is critical. As General Muneeruzzaman notes, these aren't just statistics. They are operational threats to the democratic process itself. Moving from risk matrices to hard evidence, let's examine the recent arrest of Asghar Ali, known as Bola. This operation by the detective branch in Dhaka explicitly traced the weapons, 2 foreign-made pistols, back to the Jessore-Benapole border route we identified earlier. This case confirms that the smuggling corridors are active and directly supplying criminals in the capital. Following the specific case of Asghar Ali, let's zoom out to the systemic response. Law enforcement is currently tackling this threat through three synchronized pillars. First, upgrading technological surveillance at key entry points. Second, intensifying physical BGB patrols on the ground. And third, leveraging RAB and DB intelligence to dismantle the networks before they reach the capital. Building on current operations, we are implementing 4 key enhancement measures across the 30 identified routes. While physical barriers and joint checkpoints are well underway, note the critical lag in technical surveillance at only 40%, which creates blind spots for nighttime trafficking. This gap is our primary vulnerability right now. Having outlined our defensive posture, we must address the reality. There are significant gaps. The radar chart on the left contrasts our target capability, in gray, with our actual ground reality, in red. The most critical deficits are in aerial surveillance and night vision technologies, leaving remote corridors virtually blind after dark. Furthermore, the silo effect between BGB and local police delays intelligence sharing, often giving smugglers a decisive head start. Having identified the gaps, we propose this multi-agency coordination framework to break operational silos. Currently, the BGB guards a line, but once weapons cross, it becomes a police matter. We need a joint intelligence cell at the center, ensuring that when BGB intercept a carrier, RAB can immediately target the syndicate boss, and police can track the end users. This integrated grid is essential for dismantling the entire supply chain, not just seizing single shipments. Building on our coordination framework, we propose a phased action plan. The immediate priority is surge operations to secure the identified 30 routes before the election. Simultaneously, we must push the legislative reforms on the right, specifically modernizing the Arms Act, to ensure that arrests lead to swift convictions. This is our final takeaway. The data is clear. Over 30 active routes and rising seizure counts prove the threat is real and escalating. Our strategy must shift from reactive patrols to proactive intelligence fusion. Secure the border to ensure a safe, legitimate election. Thank you.